Today, I'm going to introduce you to a concept that might help open your eyes to some opportunities that you have to change the way you approach your journey so you feel a little bit differently about it. One of the things that we've been working on with our coaches in their seminars over the last few weeks, and we've been talking about as a group of coaches, is something that we refer to as the development paradox. Lydia and I talked about this in episode 48 of the Passion Fit Coaching podcast. So if you want a little bit more insight and detail into this, you can have a listen to it there. But hopefully this short video will introduce you to the concept and give you some ideas to go away and think about. And if you want to know a little bit more, obviously get in touch. So Lauren and I are going to take you through this model today. Yeah. And the reason this came about is because we found that we were seeing lots of examples of people becoming disenfranchised and disengaged with their journeys as a whole, not just athletes, but people in the corporate world or just people in their general life, weren't we? Mm-hmm. And we wanted to try and understand a little bit more about why that might be happening, what might be causing it, and how we could go about trying to support the solutions to that as coaches. So we're going to take you through. Lauren's going to do the writing, aren't you?
I am.
Because my writing's terrible. If I was doing the writing, you wouldn't be able to read anything. And I've been invited to talk about this because it's something I've been working on quite closely with the athletes and other coaches that we work with. Yeah. So not just athletes. Okay, so it's based around, to start off with, it's based around something called the development pyramid, which some of you may be familiar with already if you've done like GCSE PE. I didn't do GCSE PE. You did, didn't you?
I did.
And A-level PE.
Yeah.
Yes? So you're familiar with this already, aren't you? So this is the development pyramid. It's very common, very straightforward concept that's used very widely. So basically what we've got various levels: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. That forms the development pyramid, which is this triangle on the left as you look at it here. Then in the middle we've got the goals, the goal types that those tiers relate to, and then the type of motivators over here, the type of people that we tend to have over here. Now it's not obviously exhaustive. It's going to have caveats. It's going to have exceptions. But it's a fairly broad model. But it will hopefully give you some food for thought about your own journey or anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's start off with tier 1 in the development pyramid. As you can see, we call it the development paradox, but this part is the development pyramid. So tier 1 is foundation level. So foundation is doing something, taking part in something. So it could be anything. It could be a sport, but it could just be building Lego. All right, it's a good example for me because I like building Lego. Lauren doesn't always let me buy the Lego I want to build, but I like building Lego. And I would say I'm probably at foundation level. I enjoy doing it, but that's it, really. I do it sometimes and nothing more. Okay, so I'm at foundation level. Someone on Lego Masters would be way beyond foundation level, and we'll talk about what that relates to in a minute. But if you watch Lego Masters, then that's there you go. So there's a non-sporting example for you. Okay, so tier 2 is participation. So participation is perhaps doing something with a little bit of structure and frequency, a little bit more focus. So perhaps let's take learning a musical instrument, good example. Okay. So rather than Lego, because learning a musical instrument, you might own a musical instrument and occasionally play it. Mm-hmm. Participation would be having some frequency and regularity to that and consistency to that playing and practice. So you might do it every so often. Mm-hmm. So for example, let's say you did a sport. Let's say you did swimming and you went to the pool and you just swam. That might be foundation. Participation might be joining the club. Yeah. Or a practice group, going for lessons, that kind of thing. Okay, so that's participation. Then we've got tier 3. And tier 3 is performance. So that's where your participation, your consistency, your frequency starts to develop into trying to become better. So not just doing it regularly, not just doing it with some consistency, but actually having a strategy to becoming better, performing better. I don't know if I could entirely relate that to a Lego example, but I suppose you could. but this might bore people. Participation might be building Lego regularly. Performance might be learning specific techniques and actually practicing them and researching them. If it was a musical instrument, it would be practicing to do grades. Okay. If it's sport, it would be being part of a team or a club to take part in competitions, the matches, swimming galas, whatever that might be, or maybe not swimming galas, just your own time trials, but trying to get better. Okay. And then we've got tier 4, which is elite, professional, whatever you want to call it. So that's where we're performing, but we're performing at the very top level of whatever that might be. So again, Lego Masters is a great idea. If you've watched Lego Masters, you'll know what I mean. If you were tier 4, I don't know that much about music, so forgive my ignorance, but that might be being grade 8, for example, or maybe beyond that even, playing in a band or an orchestra, that kind of thing. And as you can see, as we go up the levels, the number of people that the level relates to decreases. Okay, so more people are engaging in activities at this level than they are at this level. Okay, so now the paradox comes from this. The paradox comes from the way that we look at the world, in that all of the focus that we see from the media, on TV, all these different things, the way we talk about anything really is we always talk about these people up here. Maybe some of this, and when we talk about ourselves, we often talk about this. Park run was supposed to be this, maybe this, but really somewhere in here, and it actually ended up becoming about this and this. And I think the organisers, I don't do park run, but I think the organisers have now changed some of the rules around park run to avoid this. And the reason park run was so popular, and rightly so, was because it was in here. Okay, so but all of the narrative that we see around the world is about this, isn't it? People who are famous, popular, rich, successful, stereotypically successful, high performers in sport, professional sports people, not just professional sports people, but gold medalists. The Olympic Games is on the TV to my left here, you can't see it. But of course, the Olympic Games is supposed to be about the participation, not the winning. Actually has very much become about the winning, and the coverage and the way that it's presented is very much about that, which I think is in some ways a bit sad, especially for sports where winning wasn't originally a thing. This Olympic Games has been really interesting because we talked about it. Generally, it feels like there's more camaraderie amongst the athletes, but interestingly, in the sports that had that and a less elite focused approach in the last Olympics, things like skateboarding and BMX seem to have become a little bit more about this time around, which I think is interesting, isn't it? Anyway, but the paradox is linked to the fact that actually this is where most people are. This is where most people are, it's where most people want to be, it's where most people's reality is, and yet all we talk about is this. And the paradox is that these things always align, but we'll come back to that in a second. Okay, so then we've got the types of goals that might relate to the people that fall into these tiers. So let's just start with the first one, tier 1. Okay, now obviously there might be exceptions to this, but this is just a generalisation. Fun. If you're in a foundation level, the likelihood is fun is a really important goal for you, it's the primary reason you do something. Yeah, so it might be other reasons, but that's a good example. Okay, tier 2. Is camaraderie. So you might be more organised about something, you might be doing it with other people, having a bit more frequency and structure to it. There might be more to it, that might be an element of purpose as well, but camaraderie is probably quite a big part of that. Okay? Performance, an example of a goal, these are examples of goals. Validation, now this is one hopefully a lot of you can probably relate to. I certainly feel quite strongly about this. Validation. A lot of the times we focus on performance for validation. Viktor Frankl talked in this about his book decades ago, filling something called an existential void. We're on this conveyor belt of life. We don't really have a purpose or meaning. So what we do is we find these goals, give ourselves these goals to fill this void that we have on our journey. And sometimes performance does that because it helps validate us that we're worth something, that we've got some value. So we go out and we we hate our job, we don't like our life, so we enter a triathlon to make ourselves feel like, you know, we're worthwhile, and we deem that we've got to do it in a certain time, or a half marathon or a marathon, to say that we've done it well, and we don't agree with that necessarily at all. That's maybe a conversation for another time. And then at tier 4, we've got domination. Okay, so sounds a bit S&M, doesn't it? Yes. But it isn't meant to. So we've got domination. So the goal in tier 4, well, the reality is normally it is domination. The point is that you're trying to be better than other people, which by definition is domination. You're trying to dominate other people. You might not be able to dominate all the people, but you're trying to dominate as many of the people as you can. That's kind of the point. Of course, professional sport is set up in such a way that you get financially rewarded based on the number of people that you dominate. In fact, more so than how you perform. Actually, interestingly, you might get rewarded for like world records, for example, that kind of thing, but you more often than not get rewarded for your domination of other people and how much better you are than others. So those are the types of goals you would see in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 and tier 4. Now, of course, there'll be crossover and there'll be differences. We'll come to that in a minute. Okay, so in terms of type, the types of people that fall into these categories. So in tier 1, often these people tend to be motivators. You know, people that are doing it for a bit of fun. They kind of want to motivate. They want to motivate themselves, and they might want to motivate others. So they're doing the thing to feel motivated and maybe motivate other people and share that motivation. Okay. Tier 2, known as affiliators. Now, there are some crossovers with some other models here, but known as affiliators, people who like to be part of something, they like to be involved in something they think is maybe fun, maybe rewarding, maybe important, that kind of thing. So, you know, people go along to park run, or they might be part of a club because they think being part of something is really important, which it is. Affiliators, okay? Then we've got influencers. Now, don't be confused. I don't mean Instagram influencers, social media influencers. I mean influencers, people who want to have some influence over the world, maybe some influence over how others perceive them or how they perceive themselves. So influencers, people that fall into the sort of performance and validation category, are often people that are influencers. They want to have an impact on others in some way. They might want to perform to inspire others, but still influencing, okay? And then finally, we call these achievers, people who want to achieve, okay? So they have these very specific goals, A1 personality types, you know, people who want to keep getting promoted, want to keep winning more stuff, that kind of thing. Okay, so here we go. So this is, now obviously as I said, there could be different terminology you might use in here. There's going to be, you know, some exceptions, of course, but this is the paradox. The paradox is this. The paradox is this is all we talk about. It's all we talk about, right? And in fact, when coaches come to us for coaching, all they talk to us about, not all the time, but often, they talk to us about how can I either be better or be better than others. That's what they talk to us about. Yes. In fact, they often validate their approach to us with how good they already are, which is really frustrating. Right? Now, some people, so the reality is, look, you can see by the pyramid, and you can use your common sense, that the majority of people don't sit up here, partly because they don't have the ability to do so, because of course only certain people can be at the very top of anything. That's the point, isn't it? Yeah. And also because they don't want to be. People generally aren't as motivated by that as we think they are. Of course, we're amazed by the things that these people can achieve. You know, so spinning around the Westlife chain. We're amazed by the things that these people can achieve. You know, we look at the Olympic Games and think, wow, that is incredible. Not just what you've achieved, but what you've had to do to get there must be remarkable. But of course, there are lots of examples of people getting there through, you know, unethical means, aren't there? Not just in terms of cheating, but just in terms of the way they've gone about leading their life isn't perhaps as value adding to the world as it should be. You know, I've played sport with a lot of people and worked with in the corporate world, a lot of people who, you know, felt like they mattered, and then later on in life they discovered they haven't. You know, I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day who was Olympian and a medalist, was talking exactly about this to me. Knew nothing about this model, was talking to me exactly about this, which was how they would happily go back and give up that Olympic medal journey for a different journey, you know, that focused more around all of this, which is amazing to hear, really. So my concern and our concern as a coaching team, and the paradox is that actually the fact, even though everybody's down here, all we talk about is up here. Now the problem here is there's a few problems. One is everybody down here can become easily disenfranchised and demotivated because they think if they're not here or here, tier 3 or tier 4, in terms of the way that they're executing the things that they take part in, they do in their life, they don't matter. And that it isn't important because it isn't fitting into tier 3 or tier 4. Now, obviously, that's absolute nonsense. You know, clearly, enjoyment, motivation, camaraderie, supporting other people, all of these things don't just matter as much, but arguably matter more than these things. Now, of course, I understand that we want to evolve and move forward as a society, but there are also different ways of measuring performance and achievement than we perhaps should be engaging in, and we tend to as a society. The other bit of the paradox that's really interesting is that some people have got the ability to be up here, and Lydia is a really good example of that, isn't she?
Yeah, it's a very good example.
But is very much this kind of a person. No real interest in this, just happens to be physiologically able to be one of these people. That's really tough for somebody like that because they find themselves surrounded by people like this and get really perplexed, frustrated, confused, irritated, demotivated, hurt sometimes by the culture that they exist in. And I actually see that quite a lot with elite sports people. You know, people who happen to have an ability to do something really well and cannot compartmentalise away from the culture because it's too difficult to do so. So that's quite interesting as well. Now what we've been thinking about a lot, discussing a lot, is that we're often perceived as a coaching community to be trying to find more people that want to be up here, whether it be at work, personal life, athletic life, hobbies, whatever it might be. And the reality is that's not true.
Yeah.
You know, we're not looking for people that want to perform better. We're not looking for people that don't want to be competitive. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that.
No, of course not.
But the people we're really looking for are the people down here. These are the people we're looking for, the people that want to be part of something exciting, something special, help evolve concepts and ideas like that, work together with us to do this kind of thing, enjoy what they do, have fun, support each other, people who want to find balance between how much performance they really want to achieve when they line that with the other areas of their life, all of these things. So who we're looking for is we're looking for those people. And statistically speaking, that's you. Because the majority of the people watching this video will be those people.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. You're definitely one of those people.
I'm definitely one of those people.
Yeah? And I'm often I'm obviously misunderstood often in people thinking I'm one of these. Now, I definitely have behaved like one of these people in the past. In fact, arguably maybe I was. But deep down inside, I never was. And I always felt a lack of belonging, a sense of frustration because I was one of these people. And I was living in a world that was trying to make me into one of those people. And that was my home life with my father and my work environment and my sporting environment. So it's incredible when you recognise how unimportant these two tiers really are and how important these tiers are, how much greater sense of belonging you can experience, how much more motivation you feel, and how you realise that so many other people, even a lot of elite performers, actually fall into these categories. Now, of course, there are a lot of people, most of them men, who have the actual ability to only be here, right? but want to be here. And that obviously is very frustrating. Don't see too many women in that category, no. Fair to say. Yes. Yeah, mostly men. All right, so we need to get our shit together a little bit, chaps, but sometimes that's the case. But there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, I definitely was one of those people, and that wasn't entirely my fault. You know, it was how society made me feel and the environments I'd been in and stuff. So look, what we're saying to you is, if you're one of these people who think you're watching this thinking, do you know what? Yeah, this is me. I'm a tier 1 or I'm a tier 2 person. You matter. You're important, and we want to work with you. We want you to get in touch with us and tell us about your journey and engage with us on how we can help, because coaching isn't about elite performance. Right? It is about a wider journey, just becoming a better version of you, a higher functioning version of you across all aspects of your life. And that's what we're all about. And it's what Passion Fit is all about. And it's what the majority of people, including Lydia, our elite professional athlete, is all about. Okay, so get in touch. Let us know if you've got any questions, ideas, thoughts, comments. Reach out to Lauren and she can help you with what the next steps might be if you think you'd like to work with us a little bit more. There's loads of ways you can get involved with us in different costings and in different ways, and you can try out what we do for free. So let us know, and hopefully we'll be seeing more of you soon as part of the Passion Fit community.